Taoiseach, in recent times, senior civil and public servants have been marred in controversy. The public purse is being used by those at the most senior level to personally enhance their own salaries, and in other cases to advance policy initiatives that government have not underwritten. We've seen these questionable practices arise in the appointment of the SecGen at the Department of Health at an unjustifiable salary. Also, the actions of the planning regulator in the application of policy other than that of the line minister, and there are many other examples. In Wexford, in early January this year, following a complaint in 2019, SIPO issued one of the most damning reports in its history. It exposed the most inappropriate behaviour by Chief Executive Mr Tom Enright and the then Cathaoirleach Fianna Fáil councillor Michael Sheehan. Mr Enright was found to have used the weight of the public purse in an attempt to influence the editorial output of South East Radio, something you might see in Mother Russia. Within 2 days of issuing the report, the Fianna Fáil chair of Wexford County Council, Councillor Barbara Ann Murphy, called a meeting to immediately push through a vote supporting the Chief Executive, ignoring the findings of the SIPO report, ignoring her own legal advice, and established custom and practice for dealing with serious disciplinary matters for a Chief Executive. It was an action which she herself should be sanctioned for. The vote was controlled and ran through by the two main parties, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael councillors in government. They made a laughing stock of SIPO by effectively giving SIPO the two fingers. This 376-page report had taken SIPO 2 years to compile. Other senior officials, including the County Secretary and Directors of Services, made contact with councillors to impress upon them the importance of supporting the Chief Executive in a vote. Implicit in that contact was that the potholes and footpaths in their areas would not be attended to if they did not support their man, an action that should be investigated in its own right and that they should also be sanctioned for. As one junior official in Wexford County Council put it to me, these votes will cost the council money. Taoiseach, do you and your party recognise the importance of SIPO and its findings as a mechanism for maintaining public confidence in the civil and public service? Taoiseach, I think you do. You mentioned corruption earlier. And in that circumstance, what sanctions do you propose for Councillors Sheehan and Murphy for aiding and abetting the Chief Executive in this debacle?
Deputy, we're travelling into previously unvisited territory. I perfectly accept the validity of exploring issues around a SIPO report, but I would have concerns about mentioning people that haven't been mentioned here before and are not here to defend themselves in any way.
All on the record and on the public record having been reported in local newspapers.
All right. Well, just let's tread carefully. Please.
Thank you.
First of all, I would make the point that there was always a tradition in this House that we don't make allegations against people who are not here to defend themselves or to respond. That's the first point. Secondly, my understanding is... Sorry?
Please, the Taoiseach without interruption.
You're on record. You went the whole way to the procedures and privileges when you abused privilege in this House.
Taoiseach, you might address.
Thanks. So you're the last to speak.
Please.
And you never apologised for abuse of privilege.
Please.
You abused it. And I just want to make the point that we need to adhere to those traditions, because if people are not here, in this instance, to defend themselves or to respond, I think that has to be taken in context. In any event, my understanding is that, first of all, I would say generally about public servants. I think we're fortunate in this country for the high standards in Irish public service across government departments. Strengths, weaknesses, no doubt. But I think Irish public servants, overall, since the foundation of the state, I think has done well by the state. I think that has been more recently manifested in the public services response to COVID-19, an unprecedented one in a 100-year pandemic, at national level, at local level, and across the country. So let's not tar everybody with one issue or one particular development or incident or action in one local authority. I believe in the Irish public service. I have my criticisms, I have my frustrations, but fundamentally, in terms of how this state is organised, you need a strong public service. You need to make sure it's adequately resourced and given the leadership that it requires. That is fundamental to a parliamentary democracy. That's my view on that. In respect of local democracy, we delegate authority to local councils. They may not always decide on policies or issues that we're happy with or that we agree with. We may disagree with actions taken. My understanding is that that first council meeting, that councils are obliged under statute to convene a meeting after a SIPO report. I can check that. That is my understanding of that. And that after that first meeting, it would have been adjourned for a subsequent meeting. SIPO reports should be taken very seriously, of course, in respect of actions and in terms of a more general principle, and I don't have the full background here as far as I'm concerned. There has to be a very clear demarcation line between governments, be they local or national, and media, because the independence of media is equally a central tenet of our democracy and should always be respected and protected.
Yeah. I noticed Deputy Brown gave you the information on the meeting, which is correct. There was a meeting convened and another one within 7 days. And even when a councillor, an independent councillor, I might add, voiced his opinion that he hadn't had sufficient time to consider the 376-page report, they continued with the vote against legal advice that they could be subject to judicial review. Now, Taoiseach, I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, you're a decent person and you do have the public interest at heart. And even though you're well able to spin, and I'm not going to stand here and be lectured on that there's no accountability at local level. The reality is that if we don't have accountability at local level, we can't have accountability anywhere else. These are your party members. These are questionable actions from directors of services, the county secretary, in which case they actually garnered a vote. And that has to be addressed. And what I'd say to you is what they've actually, this whole debacle has served no purpose other than to emasculate SIPO. And you must, is there an answer to that? Can you tell me what the whole purpose of SIPO is if this is not going to be addressed? Because to me, Count Corla, it's a complete waste of the public's money. Something that took 2 years for SIPO to compile, took less than 7 days for Wexford County Council under the chair of Fianna Fáil to actually do nothing about.
Thank you.
Well, there are many parties on that council now, Deputy. Let's be clear about that. There are many parties on that council, but I would make the point that the SIPO report will have impact. And I would put it to you that it is already having impact. Because when a report like that is published, even though it's specific to a particular action by a chief executive officer in a particular local authority, it has wider implications and ramifications for other chief executive officers across local authorities.
Not if there's no sanction, Taoiseach.
Yes, it does. I think I would not agree with you. Not everyone's going to behave in the same way as one council does or one chief executive officer may do. Others will take note of what was laid down by SIPO here and the findings of SIPO in relation to this particular issue. And I think that is my view.
I think the message is that we'll all do what we like. We'll all do what we like.
It will have far-reaching impacts.
No impact.
In terms of the future
no
behaviour
got a standing ovation
of councils.
And a round of applause.
Will you let the Taoiseach respond?
Other councils will take a different view and will take on board what the SIPO report and its conclusions. There cannot be any attempts to influence the content of any local radio discussion, debate, or its treatment or coverage of any issue.
That's what the report
says. And there should never
says.
be, even if you have advertisements, that emanate from the council and so on like that, that is not correct. It can never be used for that purpose by anybody. I'm very clear about that.
But nothing was done.
Time is up. Thank you.